Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Hello. Okay. Thank you. Uh, so this novel, Midnight Children, the most controversial novel. Another novel, Satanic Verses, which was published in 1989, that created a great um, controversy, not only in India but also throughout the world. Many governments in the world, particularly the Islamic countries, they banned this book, and also in many countries, Salman Rushdie was issued a fatwa. Fatwa means a religious threat, a religious death sentence that whoever would kill him, murder him, would be given award. So accordingly, even in India also the same thing happened. Many Muslim leaders they opposed. Not only opposed, actually he was also given threats everywhere, and accordingly he took shelter in England. Uh, so now let us discuss some of the uh, important works of Rushdie. As far as Rushdie is concerned, actually he is a great writer, though he has not received the Nobel Prize in Literature, but two times he has received the Booker Award. He is a writer of equal status and stature, like Untergrass, Minnal Kundar, and Gabriel Marcuse. So many, he is equivalent with many uh, great outstanding writers in the world. Now staying in London and also continuing his creative works. Uh, he has um, his works can be categorized as India based, Pakistan based, and England based. India based, some of the novels are Midnight Children, which we are going to discuss. In 1981, this book was published. Another novel is Moore's Last Sigh. In 1995, it was published. And another one is The Ground Beneath Her Feet. In 1999, this novel was published. These three novels were India based. He has a novel, Pakistan based, that is Same, SHAME Same, published in 1983. Okay. Uh, another novel, Same or Lajja, is written by Bangladeshi writer, woman writer, and accordingly she was also given threats by Muslim leaders. Um, England-based novel is The Satanic Verses. Is the most controversial novel, where he is accused of that he criticized Islam, Prophet Muhammad, and accordingly uh, he was issued fatwa. He had won 20 prestigious awards as a writer, uh, English writers. He was given 20 prestigious awards, um, and also won two times Man Booker Award. Next to Nobel Prize actually, this Man Booker Award uh, is a very important, outstanding literary award. Uh, as far as this novel is concerned, let me tell you some of the historical backgrounds of this novel. Um, Muslim League formation. Actually, some days back I was discussing this issue with I think MEG-8 students. I don't know whether some of you are present or not. Uh, Muslim League formation, actually, this is a part of partition, which gave rise to two nation theory, the formula of two nation theory proposed by Muhammad Ali Jinnah, and accordingly the whole country was an undivided country or nation was divided into two pieces, India and Pakistan. Then there is another important freedom of India, 1947. Then Bangladesh liberation 1971. Also 1965 war, 1971 war against Pakistan, and liberation of Bangladesh. Emergency was imposed by the Prime Minister of India, the then Prime Minister of India, Srimati Indira Gandhi. She imposed uh, emergency from 25 June 1975 to 21st March 1977. So almost 2 years yeah, this emergency was imposed, and accordingly what happened to the history of India, you are very well aware of. There is another, there is a reference to another incident, that is the stealing of the relics of Prophet Muhammad in one of the mosques in Punjab, that led to a severe riot. So several things, several historical matters are there. Uh, so I'm not going to discuss the details of these historical events. Uh, Now let us go to Salman Rushdie. Actually, he is not only a fiction writer; he has written also um, some other critical writings, some stories. Okay, uh, Harun and the Sea of Stories, 1990. Then Good Faith in 1990. Then Imagining Homeland, Essays and Criticism, 1991. So in this way, we find a number of. Also, he has written a travelogue, The Jaguar Smile. So many. To his credit, we have so many. I have a number of data, right? Uh, so actually, here, as far as the story is concerned, he narrates the story uh, of his life journey. Actually, here the protagonist is Salim Sinai. The the protagonist of this novel is Salim Sinai. Salim Sinai is uh, as a Muslim boy. What happens to actually here, actually in the story, 1,000 midnight children were born. Right, 1,000 midnight children were born just on the night of 1947. 1947 August 14. Just at that particular moment, 1947 August 14 midnight, uh, 1,000 children were born, having exceptional power of imagination, magical power, having a great deal of creativity in them. But unfortunately, towards when the story is we find towards the last chapter of the story, only 581 uh, midnight children actually they were survived. Okay, and in 1957, towards 1957, we find only 581 midnight children. Now there is a question: the others, the rest about 400 students, 400 midnight children, where are they? Where did they go, and what happened to them? So this is a big question. This is very certain that actually they were not survived. They could not survive. They perhaps lost their life. They were missed. Maybe they were captured, abducted, or maybe they were murdered in the midst of riots. So the point is, India as a country, as a nation, could not protect all these exceptionally talented, creative, gifted children, genius children who were took birth at the same time of actually when India got freedom, got her freedom. At the same time, 1,000 midnight children, they were born having exceptional powers, but when in course of time, when we enter into the post-independent phase, all these exceptionally talented and gifted children, genius children, they were actually they faced a lot of trouble. When India faced trouble, these children also they got. That means the life of these exceptionally gifted children, these midnight children, what happened to them, what fate they had, the same fate happened to independent India. So the story of India, the history of India, particularly this post-independent history of India, is equivalent to the story and the life, the destiny of all these children, and what is happening to them. This is the story of the novel, and this novel actually involves a lot of technicalities, a lot of uh, technical construction, particularly magic realism, hybridity, post-colonial elements, post-colonial feminism, and so many techniques have been applied as a result. This is a big book containing more than 500 pages, and uh, the whole history of India has been described in a very magical way. That is why magic realism. That is one of the um, very important um, artistic tool which has been applied by Salman Rushdie, and that made Salman Rushdie a world famous writer, for which actually everywhere, throughout the world, everywhere, in all universities, colleges, even ordinary people, they started reading this novel, um, and actually this piece of literature, this piece of fiction, actually not only made India uh, popular throughout the world. At the same time, also it exposed India's history, India's culture, India's image as a democratic nation. So we'll discuss it. Some of the important points. Now come to, am I clear or not? Do you get my point or not? Hello. Some of you, please
Yes,
tell me
sir.
whether I'm reaching at you or not. Okay.
Yes, sir.
If you have a copy, please note some of the points which I'm going to discuss. So before I discuss something, the protagonist of the novel. Now let us know who is he and what happens to him. The protagonist of the novel is Salim Sinai. Salim Sinai. He is a product of hybridity. Hybrid. It is a hybrid product. Hybrid product, which is applied in cultivation, in farming, mixing the characters of different crops. A modified crop is uh, actually is born, that is known as hybridity, which is also, as far as human history is concerned, as far as a mixed culture is concerned, but particularly a country like India, where actually people are also hybrid in biologically as well as culturally. I hope you understand.
Sir, good afternoon, sir. Sir,
Yes,
you said protagonist of this story. What do you mean by that, sir? I am unable to
yes,
understand.
yes. Okay, okay, okay. Thank you. Protagonist means the main character. Now you please mute your mic so that we can hear. There is echo. So protagonist means the main character, the chief character, the leading character, the hero of a story. It may be hero or heroine. It doesn't matter. The main character, the central character, through which the author gives a message to society, to the readers. Right. So this is known as somebody. That means the main character of the story. ଓଡ଼ିଆରେ ତ କହିବା ଆମେ ନାୟକ. So Salim Sinai is the protagonist, the narrator of Midnight Children. He is working as the mouthpiece of Salman Rushdie, and through Salim Sinai, Rushdie, the author, is telling the story of India. Right? Um, somebody, I think. He is a diasporic. Salman Rushdie is a diasporic writer. Diasporic writer means born in India, went abroad, stayed there, got educated, and started writing. made a career in literature. So that is diasporic writer. D.S. Noipal is also a diasporic writer. He has written another book, Wounded Civilization, and he referred to India. And so many diasporic writers, they not only highlighted India, India's culture, India's tradition, India's image as a democratic secular nation. At the same time, also they exposed India. So here actually through Salim Sinai, how Rusty is telling the story of India, this particularly the sad story of India, not the bright story, the bright side of India's independence, the sad side, the sad story, the pathetic story. What happened to India after independence? Uh, Salim Sinha is the protagonist, the narrator of Midnights. He is born along with, actually, let me read one passage about Salim Sinha. As I told you, you are getting direct questions based on themes, as well as another question may be there based on character sketch. And as far as any novel or drama is concerned, you will be asked to write the character sketch of the protagonist, right? Not the side characters, the protagonist. Salim Sinha is the protagonist and narrator of Midnight Children. He is born one uh, along with 1,000 children at the exact moment of India's independence. His identity, however, is switched at birth. As a result, he is raised by a prosperous family in Bombay. Actually, as far as the story is concerned, he has been exchanged. Actually, he was a Hindu, born from a Hindu woman and a British father. Okay, departing means the outgoing British, one of the British officers, uh, and a poor Indian Hindu woman. So he was a hybrid product or a hybrid child, carrying the sense of this two cultures identity. His identity, however, is switched at birth. As a result, he is raised by a prosperous family in Bombay, while his counterpart and future rival, Shiva is another child, Midnight's child. Uh, he was also born. He is raised in poverty. Salim has the powers of telepathy. Remember, very interesting fact as far as these midnight children were concerned. Salim had the powers of telepathy uh, and preternaturally acute sense of smell. So he had also got a great sense of smell. He could smell uh, um, at a distance. So what object is there? So which allow him to find the other children of midnights and create the midnight children's conference. Actually, he in this novel, in the story, he created a club, midnight children's club, and accordingly they tried to connect with each other, they tried to help each other, they tried to face the harsh reality that India was going through. So he created that conference. As he approaches his 31st birthday, as he approaches his 31st birthday, he says he is nearing death. His body is literally falling apart. So when he reached at the age of 31, he was unable to celebrate his birthday, and he said something that he says he is nearing death because his body is literally falling apart. He was suffering from a lot of physical troubles, and it's only a matter of the time before he crumbles into dust. Driven by a desire to beat his biological clock, Salim narrates his life story to his devoted and loving caretaker, Padma. So actually here the story, how the story is told, at his 31st birthday, when he was unable to survive, unable to celebrate his birthday, and when he said that I am going to die, I cannot exist. And at this point of time, he is telling his whole story, what happened to him during this 31 years of his life. and 31 years of the nation's history. So he is recording, he is trying to record it through Padma, what happened to him and other midnight children. So this is the story. His tale, which begins with his grandfather Adam, and is at times unreliable and contrived, represents not only his individual life story but also the entire history of post-colonial India. So his story is the post-colonial story of India. All the major events in his life correspond to important political events in Indian history, leading him to compare his narrative to religious texts, given his fantastic birth and extraordinary powers. The Prime Minister of India, Indira Gandhi, seeks to destroy him along with the other midnight children. So here actually he is also referring to some of the political developments that was going on in the country, and he is also saying, not hesitating to say that the then Prime Minister of India, Indira Gandhi, when he imposed emergency and whatever happened to the people of India and these all midnight children, uh, and he accuses that perhaps uh, Indira Gandhi, the Prime Minister of that time, perhaps she is responsible for the tragedy that happened to this country and that happened to these midnight children. So with this, let us go to some other characters. The other characters, I think a bunch of characters are there. Better to switch over to some other aspects of the story that involves these midnight children. So here, the protagonist is, as we have already seen, a 31-year-old young man who narrates to Padma um, his uh, beloved, the story of his journey from independence to the partition. So, in one way, this is a partition novel, a partition story. At the in other level, it is also a post-colonial story. The novel charts his life, highly comprising three generations of Sinai family. Sinai family, actually, to which he belongs. Uh, his entire life story, what is happening to him, it records the three generations of the Sinai family. From beginning, Salim is aware of his destiny that is closely tied up with the history of India. So, very often critics they have given remarks that as if history is handcuffed. That means the destiny of a nation, the destiny of a nation is handcuffed with the destiny of these midnight children. From the beginning, Salim is aware of his destiny that is closely tied up with the history of this country. Salim began hearing different voices, and soon he realizes that they are in reality voices of the people who surrounded him. That means what was happening all around the country, what was happening throughout the country, the people, the community, in different religious aspect, the riots, the emergency, the partition movement, the bloodshed, the hatred, the communal hatred. So all these events, actually, he was hearing the voices of the people who were actually shouting and who were actually trying to kill people in the name of religion, in the name of community, in the name of caste. So uh, all these terrible aspects of history, actually, whatever happening to India, whatever happening to the nation, it was also happening to these midnight children. To his surprise, he realizes that he has been endowed with a special power, that is telepathy, which we have already discussed. Telepathy is a something an exceptional quality, particularly the gifted people they get it. Particularly the visionary, the poets, and the philosophers they have this power. Not exactly the fortune tellers. Fortune tellers matter is something different. Telepathy means foresee. They can foresee what is happening to them or what is happening to the nation or to the people, through which he could easily connect with the other children born in the midnight. So accordingly, he is also organizing the conference and trying to connect with the other midnight children. The other midnight children, some of these children also they had endowed with some special powers. I have already mentioned. Uh, uh, Through this, we come across various problems confronting the newly formed nation, that is India. India in one side and Pakistan in the other side. Every action that Salim takes seem to determine the cause of India's history and development. So whatever Salim is doing here, whatever happening to Salim, actually it is happening to India. And now let us just discuss another aspect of this novel, that is the themes. Theme of a novel that is very important from exam point of view, from the understanding point of view. Here we find some of the major themes is the role of history and the idea of myth. The role of history, the role of history is very important as far as the destiny of a nation is concerned. Here, history is giving an identity to a nation. Whatever history is taking, what means whatever events are taking place, history means the records of some of the important events, okay, that affect its people, its society and culture. That is history. History is not ordinary events. The events which are very significant events that affects the people, that determines the fate of the nation as well as the people of that country. That is history. So here, whatever event took place, the partition, the emergency, the war, two wars, especially with Pakistan, and all that riots. So the role of history is very important as far as actually it is giving an identity. And what sort of identity we will discuss. It is giving a fragmented identity, a bleeding identity, that India as a nation. So uh, it has not a healthy identity. It has a very fragmented identity. And today also we are carrying that sense that uh, as a nation, we are not united. We are a divided nation, and every day we have been fragmented. We have been divided. We have been disintegrated in the name of religion, caste, culture, etc., etc. So that is very important. And also the idea of myth. Idea of myth means, as I have already mentioned, magic realism is applied. This is a very new technique, a modern technique while describing the story. This is not a piece of history book, right? Critics they remark that this is not a history book. This is a fiction where actually characters are fictional characters, but history is real. Whatever history, see the name of Indira Gandhi is given, emergency is given, the year, the events, they are quite real. Truly, actually, these events happened in history. So here, history, that means reality as well as imagination. Okay, reality and imagination have been fused by a technique which is known as magical realism. Actually, here, uh, Rushdie is creating some kind of myth while describing the history of India and the life of these midnight children. He is creating some kind of myth, some kind of stories, some kind of actually he is developing some kind of plots, uh, and he is adding some color of his imagination. As a result, the novel actually it touched the mind and imagination of the readers and was well accepted um, everywhere. It is an interplay of history, myth, and fantasy. Fantasy is very another another magical aspect of a story. Fantasy. Uh, Myth here actually history is factual. These are facts. Myth is actually it is created. At the same time fantasy is also applied. Fantasy means making the whole story as if a fairy tale, as if a fairy tale or a um, something is something actually something magic is happening. Something kind of magic is happening. You cannot understand, you cannot perceive it, you cannot imagine it, but that actually happens. So that is known as fantasy. So history, myth, and fantasy, uh, which have been applied
Sir,
in a
meat,
very
sir,
myth.
again.
Myth actually while that I was discussing your Kantapura, I told that this is a Gandhian myth. So Gandhian myth means Gandhi becomes a symbol. Gandhi becomes a symbol of inspiration, a symbol of motivation, okay, symbol of transformation, right, symbol of change, symbol of emancipation, all that you can apply. So myth means actually it is symbolic. It is a kind of prototype. Prototype means actually you also say somebody Gandhi in your area, okay. So the whole image of Gandhi is not only it is not concentrated at one place. Somebody who can behave like Gandhi, who can do something like Gandhi, you can say he is a Gandhi. So that is myth. Whereas Arjuna, you can also say, you are Arjuna. You appear as if you are Arjuna. You can do this, that. So, so they are actually myths. But fantasy is something actually which you cannot believe. Do you understand or not? You cannot believe, but for some time you accept that something is happening. Do you understand or not? And there is no trace of reality in it. Do you understand or not? There is no. That means particularly the children's story. In children's story, there are actually what the color of fantasy is given. The giants, the spirit, okay, the witches. So here actually, I think uh, Parvati is a character in this novel, which is appearing almost like a witch, and she has some kind of supernatural power of a witch. Do you understand or not? So here actually these are fantasies. These aspects of the story it appears as fantasies. That is why that means exceptionally actually some writers they apply their color of imagination. As a result, they add something in the story which the reader cannot accept so easily. It appears as a dream. It appears as if you are in a land of fantasy. Right. So this is known as fantasy. I hope you have understood. What is happening to the lives of the midnight children is happening to the India as a nation. That means midnight children is equal to India. Salim is equal to India. In other words, you can say Salim is equal to India means whatever happened to Salim, Salim could not survive. Salim was unable to um, um, unable to bear the pain and suffering in his life. So whatever happening to Salim is exactly happening to a nation like India. So that is how this book, this novel, this fiction created a lot of interest in the minds of the people. So this is in that way it is a unique novel. For the first time in history of world literature, somebody is describing the history of a nation, okay, the development of a nation through a character. Do you understand? So this this aspect of the story is very very fantastic, is very very exceptional. That is why very widely it is accepted, very widely it is also criticized, very widely this book is read, and Salman Rushdie actually earned a lot of name and fame. Actually, he raised even he became a greater figure than the Nobel awardees. Whatever admiration, whatever recognition he got is not something ordinary. 2 times Man Booker Award and some other awards, and a lot of criticism was made. Okay, everywhere in the world. So can you imagine one story is giving so much of famous already? Already also he had earned a lot of bad name when he wrote satanic verses. But this novel actually, to some extent, it was well accepted, even some in some by some Muslim readers, scholars. This novel was accepted, though satanic verses was banned. So what I'm trying to say, it's a beautiful novel. As I said, time. If you have time, if you can afford time, if you can have a copy, you please read it. Um, if you cannot have a copy, at least you try to read some of the secondary sources so that it is helping in your examination. Lives of individuals is equal to public events. So individuals means as far as the midnight children were concerned, they were having an individual life, leading an individual life. Just as they were born, a country was born. So as time passed, whatever happened to this country, to this land, the same thing happened to them. So the lives of these individuals, the life of these children, it is becoming a mass life. It is becoming a public life. It is becoming uh, a community life. Particularly some of the Muslim characters, whatever where they suffered, in the same way the Muslim community they suffered. Some Hindu characters, whatever where they were suffered, Hindu community were also suffered. So both the community in this country, they faced the same problem, and at the same time the nation as a whole, nation you can say, if you consider nation as an entity, let us say Mother India, whatever happened to these children, it also happened to Mother India. That is why very often emotional we speak, we say, emotionally we say that, okay, um, don't try to harm Mother India, don't try to bleed India, don't try to stab India. Because when you are doing something, actually you are not only harming your people, you are also harming your um, land, your motherland. So if land becomes a mother, so as a conscious citizen, as a responsible citizen, we should guard, we should give respect, and we should also believe in the dignity of our mother. In the same way, we should respect her. So the point is actually, you can say, Salman Rushdie actually he is not only highlighting the story, at the same time he is exposing India as a nation. He is exposing the politicians, particularly the Congress party, the Congress leaders, and the rioters, the people who are making riots, who are bleeding India, who are actually um, creating bloodshed in the name of religion. Actually, he is exposing all these aspects in the story. Interconnected, intertextuality happen in the text also. Intertextuality, I will be discussing this issue. Intertextuality in my MEG discussion. It is related to criticism, intertextuality, interconnectedness, and intertextuality. There means actually while describing the story, narrating the story, Salim is frequently actually he is connecting his life. He's connecting um, some aspect of his life with religion, uh, with myths, and with the history of India. That is known as he is also drawing parallels, his life with um, uh, some of the lives of some of the drawing his life with the characters of some of the myths. So this is known as the intertextual. It means actually you can find the echo of a. Do you understand or not? If Salim is referring um, uh, his life, that he is suffering like Arjuna in the battlefield. Okay, he is also suffering. He's saying that this is a land of Vedas, but Muslims are targeted. Everybody having a soul. Everybody is a human being. God is present everywhere, in everybody's heart. But we are not considered as. Salim is very often is saying very frequently. He is saying that in this country we have been neglected. We have been targeted. So that is why, as if Salman Rushdie, as a Muslim, he has targeted the Hindus, accusing that Hindu perhaps they failed in their responsibility in protecting the Muslims, the minorities. So today also the same stamp uh, is given by some of the scholars. I don't know whether it is fair or not. That is separate issue. But here Salim is actually very often he is connecting his life, his story, this the sad story of his life, and with many other texts, particularly the religions. Okay, so this is an interconnected story, and intertextuality is playing a leading role in this novel. That is why Salim's life is greatly handicapped with the history of India. So Salim's life, actually, Salim's life means his fate, his destiny is handicapped with the history of India. As far as the history of India is concerned, it is not a healthy history. It is a fragmented history. It is a sad history. It is a um, bleeding history. It is a wounded history. You can say it is a wounded history. Okay. So as his personal life is shattered into pieces, India is also shattered into pieces, fragmented into. So his personal life of fragmentation, the life of fragmentation of the midnight children is also it is handicapped with the fragmented history of India. So history is handicapped means actually history is tied with their destiny. As a result, uh, the story when the story runs, uh, their life is also suffers. Their life suffers like the history of India. Salim begins to believe that there is no difference between facts and gossips, history and legends, because legends seem to be uh, stranger than reality. So sometimes when he suffers, when the midnight children they suffer, actually, particularly Salim says that there is no difference between the facts, what is happening to them, what is happening all around India, all around their life, and gossips, history, legends, whatever is happening, whatever knowledge or experiences they are gathering in a country, actually, there is no difference between fiction and reality, between legends and reality, between facts and fiction. So everything is happening parallel. His memory constantly fails. Uh, as far as Salim life is concerned, Salim's memory constantly fails and playfully provides excuses for factual mistakes. He commits factual mistakes. Even he very often he forgets his name, forgets his identity, forgets where he is present and what to say and what not to say. So his memory fails and provides an excuses for factual mistakes. Even he cannot give the accounts of Gandhi's date of birth. So when he is asked in the novel, he is unable to provide the date of birth of Gandhi. That there is a person, there is a great man. Gandhi was born in this country and he sacrificed his life, etc., etc. So he cannot give an account of anything about this country. And what does it imply? This implies a fragmented life of a person. So he is completely fragmented. He is completely um, he has actually a very suffering life, right? So he is not only physically turning into pieces, at the same time he is also mentally, psychologically. Uh, so he is actually he's having a divided life. He's having a fragmented life. As a result, he is unable to remember many facts. Uh, this individual fragmentation is equal to Also, you can equate it with the fragmentation of a country or a nation. Uh, how many minutes left? Hello, dear learners. Okay, it's already 5 o'clock. So, if you want, I can take another class. Since this is a very important novel, a very voluminous novel, there are complicated structure. Also, so many issues are there involved in this novel, and also so many characters are there. If you want, I can take another class on it. Otherwise, I will switch over to another novel, and then also you have short story, uh, another block short story, and also poetry. Poetry or short story?
Yes,
Do
sir.
you want to stop here? Do you want to have another class, or we will stop here? Hello.
Yes, sir. You want
If some of you you suggest that another class is required, I will take. Otherwise, I will switch over to another block.
Yes, sir. We want another class. Yes, sir.
This one,
Yes, sir.
this one you
Yes,
give
sir.
your suggestion, and accordingly we will proceed. Hello.
So yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Another class
Another
for
class.
this topic.
Yes, sir.
Okay, another. I will try to have some more issues on this novel, and another class will be required.
Okay,
Right.
thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you all
Thank you, sir.
for your, okay, for your progress.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.